We're on Module 2, Lesson 3, Find and Apply LCM and GCF. LCM stands for least common multiple. If you look over to the left-hand side, that's one of our vocabulary words. The least number, that is a multiple of 2 or more given numbers. And then we have GCF, which is the greatest common factor. Factors are the numbers that can multiply together to get that number. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you guys have probably seen in the past how to find the greatest common factor, the least common multiple. I'm going to show you a way called Tic Tac Toe, and that's what I'm going to be using. If you want to use one of the other methods that one of your teachers have previously taught you, I am fine with that. But I'm going to use one that is called Tic Tac Toe. And some reason I zoomed in really far here, so give me a second and I can get zoomed back out. Okay, I got the screen back. Sorry about that. Okay, now let's find our greatest common factor of these sets of numbers. I'm going to go slowly on the first one. I'm going to show you my method that I use. You can use any method that you like. I like this method. I call it tic-tac-toe because you can make a tic-tac-toe board to start off with. So I have a normal tic-tac-toe board. I'm going to cancel out that space because we're not going to use it. We're going to take our numbers that we have on the top, 24 and 16. Now, we want to think of the largest number that can go into both of these. So I know that the largest number that can go into both of these is 8. In this blank, we're going to say 8 times what is 24? And we're going to put 3 because 8 times 3 is 24. Now for this blank, 8 times what is 16? And the answer is 2. Now if I look at my 3 and the 2, the only number that can still go into those are 1. So what that means is that we are done right here with the 8. So for these ones, you don't have to list out all of the factors to find the biggest one. You're going to use your math skills and you have it right off the bat. Let's do another one. I draw my tic-tac-toe board. I have 6 and I have 10. Besides 1, the only other number that can go into this is 2. 2 times what is 6? 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. If we look on our inside numbers, we have a 3 and a 5. The only thing that can go into those is a 1. So I'm going to circle my outside number. My GCF of 6 and 10 is 2. We have a 5 and a 7. So I'm going to set up my board. The only thing that can go into 5 and 7 is 1. So that is our answer. Sometimes it's just going to be 1. Our next one is 24 and 18. I want to show you what happens if you don't pick the largest number off the bat and you pick a different number. Ooh, I made that a really big tic-tac-toe board. So a number that can go into both 24 and 18, I'm going to choose 2. Sometimes you don't see the largest number. So 2 times 12 is 24. 2 times 9 is 18. Now, if I look at my 12 and my 9, I know a 3 can still go into each of those, so I'm going to put 3 down. 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 3 is 9. If I look at my 4 and my 3, only a 1 can go into those. So this time, instead of only one number being on the side, we have 2. So we're going to multiply those two together. 2 times 3 is 6. So that's my answer. Now, if you guess the biggest number each time, you have less work to do. So if you know your factors really well and your multiplication facts really well, if you pick the biggest one, you're going to be done a lot more quickly. Now, you can also do this with 3 numbers. So we're going to make a mega tic-tac-toe board here. So we have 16, 40, and 64. We have to find a number that can go into all 3 of those. And I'm going to start with 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 8 is 64. If I look at those 3 numbers, nothing can go into all 3 of those. So I'm going to circle my answer of 8. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to look at LCM. LCM slightly different than GCF, but we're going to start off doing the same thing. So I have the same numbers over here, you see, but since we're finding LCM, we're going to do it a little differently. So I'm going to draw my tic-tac-toe board. I have 24, and I have 16. I'm going to take my numbers that I already have over here. I know that 8 times 3 is 24, and 8 times 2 is 16. So with factors, we just took this number on the left. But with multiples, we're going to circle the whole thing, and we're going to multiply them all together. So 8 times 3 is 24. So I have 24 times 2. I get 48 as my answer. Remember, multiples are we're multiplying, we're counting by those numbers. So if I take 24 and then I count to 48, those are the numbers we're counting by. 6 and 10 is our next one. And remember, we already solved these over here, so I'm just dropping my numbers in. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. And since it's these common multiples, I'm circling the entire thing right here. And I'm going to multiply them together. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, my 5 and my 7. If I can only take a 1 out, which is what we did over there, that just means I get to multiply these numbers together, and that will find my least common multiple. So 5 times 7 is 35. Okay, next. I have 24 and 18. And I'm going to show you what you do if you don't pick the largest number out, because sometimes we don't do that. And that's exactly what I did over on this side with our greatest common factor. So I'm going to take my numbers over. If the only number I can see is 2 to start off with, I'm going to start with the 2. 2 times 12 is 24. 2 times 9 is 18. And with my 12 and my 9, I can still take a 3 out. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. Now, instead of just taking it and going across like this, we also have to take everything on the left-hand side and everything down here. And then we're going to multiply all of those numbers together. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times, let's do 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So 6 times 12 is 72. So the first time, if we're counting by 24s and 18s, the first time those numbers match up is at 72. And again, we have a 3. We're going to have a mega board on the bottom. So I have 16, 40, and 64. I'm going to take 8 out. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 5 is 40. And 8 times 8 is 64. Now, when we do least common multiples, if we look at this row right here, if there are two numbers that match up, we can just do those two numbers. So if I look at my 2 and my 8, I know that a 2 can go into those. Nothing can go into 5, so my 5 just gets to chill out and drop down. So we're going to take this. I'm going to take a 2 out. 2 times 1 is 2. The 5 just got to chill out and come down because he didn't have anything in common with the 2 and the 8. And then 2 times 4 is 8. Now, if I look at these numbers, I have a 1 and 5 and 4. Nothing can go into those. So I'm going to circle all of these. And I'm going to multiply them all together. 8 times 2 is 16. We don't need to worry about those times 1 because 16 times 1 is 16. 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm going to multiply that all together. 16 times 2, I know this says 20, but 16 times 2, we get 32, and then we just bring our 0 down just like that. And so that's our answer up there. Now, we are going to take what we learned and we're going to transfer it down to the bottom to actual problems. Okay, so let's look down here. Which is greater, 5/6 or 7/10? So if I write these out, I have a 5/6 and 7/10. Now, to figure out which is bigger, we need to get the same number on the bottom. And to get the same number on the bottom also known as the denominator, we need to find the smallest multiple that both of those go into. Now, some of you can see them off the bat and you'll be fine. If you can't, you're going to come to the side. We're going to do a little tic-tac-toe board. We're going to use our 6 and our 10. I know 2 times 3 is 6 and 2 times 5 is 10. And we need to multiply these together. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. So I need to make those bottom numbers 30. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by 5 because 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 5 is 25. On the bottom, we need to make that 10 into a 30. So 10 times 3 is 30. Whatever we do on the bottom, we're going to do the same thing on the top. We get 21. Now, since the bottom numbers are the same, we're going to look at the top numbers, otherwise known as the numerators. And you'll see that this is 25 and this is 21. 25 is bigger than 21, so 5/6 is bigger than 7/10. Okay, these ones are both negative numbers. Now, another way, a mathematical great thinking way to do this is this larger than 1/2 or less than 1/2? We know that half of 24 is 12. So this is larger than 1/2 right here. But if we think about it, mathematically, this is a negative sign. So the larger it is, the farther on the left that it is. This 7/18 is less than 1/2 because I know that 9 is half of 18. 7 would be less than 1/2. So the greater number is this one because we have to think opposites because we're doing negatives. You made it to check understanding. Make sure that you're trying to check understanding. And when you have done what you can do, you're coming back and you're checking your answer. So pause it until you're ready to unpause to get the right answers. This first one, paper cups are sold in packages of 6. Napkins are sold in packages of 8. Ted wants to buy the same number of each. What is the least number of cups and napkins he needs to buy? So we're setting up with 6 and 8. The only number that can go into 6 and 8 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. And we are going to multiply these all together so we can figure out what amount they need to get. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. So he needs to buy at least 24. Next one. A florist has 60 tulips and 72 daffodils. The florist will make bouquets with the same number of tulips and the same number of daffodils in each, using all the flowers. What is the greatest number of bouquets the florist can make? So I'm going to take 60. I'm going to take 72. The largest number, I wonder if you guys got this, that can go into each of them is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. 12 times 6 is 72. Nothing else can go in that 5 and 6, so the answer on this one is 12. If you didn't see the 12 off the bat, you maybe started with maybe a 6 or 2. You will eventually get yourself down there. You just might have to go an extra step. Then the last one, which is greater, 11/16 or 24/32? Now, both of these are over 1/2, so let's take a look at our denominators, which are 32 and 16. So 32 and 16. I know 16 goes into 32 once. Not once, I'm sorry, twice. And 16 goes into 16 once. So 16 times 2 times 1 is 32. So we need to get the bottoms to be 32. Which 24/32 is already there. If you already know that 16 goes into 32, you don't have to do this part. This part's to help you out. 16 times 2 is 32. 11 times 2 is 22. So those are pretty close. We just look at the top numbers now. 24 is bigger than 22. So 24/32 is the biggest. And that's all there is with check understanding.